Go on the camera. Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the live stream number 14, the live talk of Inspireli Awards. And today's topic is the Schindler's ARK and questions and answers provided by the owner of the Schindler's ARK, Daniel Lefbert, as well as other guests as the main architect, Mr. Buresh, and the project manager, Milan Shuduma. We are really glad to see you all again here, and we have so many people here on the Zoom that you will see shortly. Thank you for coming. Your time will come shortly after we introduce the topic. So the Schindler's ARK competition is part of the 9th Inspireli Awards, and it is a specific themed competition. We are in our 9th year of Inspireli Awards that has no specific topic, so we are really interested in the Schindler's ARK and saving it. The Schindler's ARK is a site that will be, it's a World Heritage that will be restored. It is the factory that is in Brněnec in Czech Republic, where Oskar Schindler saved 1,200 Jews during the Second World War. So this is a truly incredible project again, and Inspireli is very grateful that we can cooperate on this. And I would like to actually introduce our guests a little bit more. So today here with me, you will get a chance to ask, and you will see speaking Mr. Daniel Lefbert, who is the chairman of the ARKS Foundation, descendant of Lefbert family and grandson of the original owner of Brněnec factory, the Oskar Schindler's camp, and now the main person behind the reconstruction. Second guest here with me is Milan Shuduma, who's the project manager at the ARKS Foundation and member of the local Brněnec team and our main contact for the students. Some of you have met him already at the site. Then again, we have here Mr. Zdeněk Buresh, who is the lead architect of the reconstruction of the Brněnec factory. And as usual, we have Karel Smejkal, the co-founder of Inspireli Awards and the president of Inspireli Awards. And the coordination of the students will be doing here with me Jana Slámová, our Inspireli lead manager in charge of all communication behind the Inspireli Awards. My name is Mariana Vahalová, and I am the CEO of Inspireli Education, the educational part of Inspireli, and I will be your host for today. So I think I would like to pass the word to Karel to tell us a little bit more about the competition.
Thank you, Mariana, and hello, everybody. I am really proud that we can be today online, and we have a beautiful topic this year, which is for me a big surprise. Maybe you remember that last year we organized competition to rebuild or restore the Beirut port, and then we had a meeting in the Vatican, and we met the Pope Francis. We gave him the piece of the silo, which was how to say, the symbol of the catastrophe. And this year we are helping again with our entire community with a beautiful topic which comes to the history of European people. And I would like to show you how we organize this competition, because that's why we are here. So as you can see now, I'm sharing the main page of Inspireli.com, and as you can see here, here is the banner for this Schindler ARK, and there inside you can find all the crucial information which you need for the projects you are working on. We discussed a lot with Daniel and with Milan about the way of running such a big competition, and we decided to split it into two parts. One part is about the Museum of Survivors, and the second part is about the new buildings new houses, and that's up to you which topic you will try to design. And of course, you can work on both topics. You can choose only the part of it. It's absolutely up to you. And what is really important, all the data, all the information you can find here. Or in case you miss anything, and this is this live stream today about, you can ask what you need, and we will do our best to help you. What is new for today is the drone photo gallery, and you can watch the entire area. That's the way how we works. Yeah. Whenever any students ask for any data, immediately we are solving this problem and we are sharing it on that platform. So this is maybe the base entrance into this today's speech, and I would like to return the voice to Mariana and go on with today's agenda.
Great. Thank you, Karel. I think who is the best person to introduce more about how this competition happened or what actually wants to be the outcome of this competition than Daniel FB. So Daniel, I would like to now ask you to unmute yourself. Wonderful.
So no, thank you. Thank you hugely to Inspireli, Carol. And it's great to see just everybody here in this support for helping save Schindler's ARK. Studio One, Kristin, Hirisumi Mezaj, Marios, Valeria, Michael Budinsky. It's good to see you all there. So we hugely appreciate it, because for me, it's a very personal project, as well as I think one of the more interesting architectural projects. So just to give you just a little bit of the background, this was our family's factory. We came out of the ghettos in 1848. We created this factory in 1854, and we really wanted to build something special in the center of European civilization. I would say that for our family, Israel was really here in the center of Europe, where kind of Czech, German, Austrian, a European culture meets. You'll see that's exactly where the site is based. And we produce two things. One is, and you should look at it for the architecture, one is the house in Brno called the Tugendhat Villa, which was created by Mies van der Rohe and Lily Reich. Don't forget Lily Reich, because the interiors are as important as the exteriors. It was a partnership between those two. And it produced one of the highest points of European architecture and civilization. And at the same time, our factory, which was a big textile factory, was turned into a concentration camp. So you see kind of the high and the low points of European civilization at the same time, right in where we see the heart of Europe. And then in 1938, our family had to flee, and it was stolen by the Nazis, and then stolen by Oskar Schindler, who was a Nazi. So he stole this factory, but he created a camp which saved one of the only ones which really didn't exterminate. It saved 1,200 Jews. Also the only escape from Auschwitz. It's a place that is extremely important and very well known through the book by Thomas Keneally, Schindler's ARK, and the film by Steven Spielberg, Schindler's List. There really is a before and an after for the awareness of that part of history from that film. And so when we say saving and rebuilding, it's something personal, but it's also putting back a little bit of European history there where it needs to be shown. You're putting back that story of Europe rebuilding, restoring, is a very important concept, and one we think architects are central to achieving. You don't often get this chance. I mean, it's difficult to see sometimes in the ruins. Emotionally, you see a ruined factory, you see some of the events there, but you don't often get a chance to save such a place and to create a museum, making a museum. And for us, it's very important because it is about saving those buildings, about creating something meaningful, that it's co-designed. So we are co-designing it with school children from 5 countries who came to the site in June. to design a little bit the educational activities, and with our young architects who can give it shape, give it form, can help us integrate the latest ideas of what a museum can be and what that site can be turned into. And there are two sides to it. You'll see one is the historic buildings. So you have the building where 1,200 Jews were saved. You have another historic building next to it, and you have a very important square in the middle, which is where Oskar Schindler was given the ring by the Jews, which said, if you save a life, you save the world entire, which is why, even if you do a little bit of, one of the meanings of that is if you start doing something, however small, contribute however small, if you add it all up, one step leads to another, you make one contribution to the museum, and you'll find in a few years, you have a museum of survivors, and you have saved an important part of history. So we really see you very much as part of that. Now, the challenge there is you've got a restoration part, but limitation gives you a lot of creativity. You know, it's about saving the services. It's about showing the passage of time, capturing the past, but also the present and the future in those materials, in those buildings, and creating on the inside a very modern museum, an experience which will engage the next generation, which are these young school children, but it's also yourselves. You will know better than we do. And then as your architects, you have to also have the opportunity to do something new. So on the southern parts, where there's a ruined factory, it is to create something for the community, a housing center there, which should be a prototype for modern, sustainable, beautiful housing that brings together the community. And the kind of the size we'd like that is 150 units. Do look a little bit at the Tugendhat Villa. Mies van der Rohe, it was meant to be a prototype for modern living. You'll see it in the glass, the use of glass windows. You'll see it, and it's the first open plan design. The outside is inside. You see it in the work of Lily Reich on the interiors, the use of textiles, the breaking up of the space. But it was never quite realized. Our family had to flee from there as well after 8 years. But we still think there's a prototype in there somewhere. But it's got to be brought forward to the 21st century. So it's sustainable. Maybe made from different materials. Use engineered wood together with glass. Look at all the ways you can make it environmental, affordable, accessible, and for the community. So that's really it. One challenge is making a museum. It's historical. It's bringing alive the past. And another one is a prototype community housing. Please get involved, however small. You don't necessarily have to build the whole thing. We want ideas for the contents of the museum, for how you restore old buildings, how you deal with materials, something even audiovisual, use of textiles, use of new materials, any little part that we can then, we will include it, because we do really think that if you make a small contribution, it's that saves the world, puts back a bit of history, and helps us save these buildings and make a new museum. So whatever way you can, please do contribute, and we're really delighted that you're all here today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, well said. And we will come repeating it later as well, that any idea is great. And you can choose whether you're going to work on both of the parts, the reconstruction of the old building and the new buildings, or just one part or part of one of those parts. So really up to you. And now I would like to pass the word to Milan Shudoma, who is the main contact and on-site person. If you can tell us a little bit how this is for you and what you are seeing so far, and if there's any new materials we'll be maybe adding to the website.
Yeah, hi everybody. I would like to thank you all for your participation in the project, because I think that it's really great and you can make it great. I'm a member of the team in Bernianets, and I'm ready to help you with any questions you might have or you might come across as you work on the project, because I'm right at the core of the buildings and the site. Sadly, we don't have as many documents and plans of the buildings that have remained in the factory. But we are doing our best to get as much information as you need to make the best of your creativity and fresh ideas on how our factory could come back in the map of Europe as one of the most interesting places to visit. So I think that it is important for you to see some of the pictures and the maps so that you can get an idea of how big the area actually is, and just to think of how to distribute the zones that are already there. It means the historical building on one side and the flat area on the other side. And as I said, I think that there's not much I can add to that. I will just be waiting for any questions that you might have now or in the future to help you get as much information as you need to deliver your ideas.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you, Milan. And I would like to give the word to the last guest here with us, who is Mr. Zdeněk Bureš, the lead architect. Can you please unmute yourself and come on? Just say hello. We can't hear you yet. Můžete se odmutnout dole vlevo. Unmute. Mm-hmm. Now we should hear you. I think we still don't hear you. Some technical issues. We can't hear Mr. Bureš. Pane Bureše, já myslím, že vás neslyšíme. So hold on with us. We have some.
Tak to není slyšet.
Už vás slyšíme. Now we can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's okay.
Thank you.
But I don't know. Není?
It's okay, we can hear. Yes, perfect. Už vás slyšíme, ano. Jo. A teď už vás zase neslyšíme. Unmute. Tak, už vás slyšíme. Teď vás slyšíme.
Jak je to možné, že to neslyšet není?
Teď vás slyšíme, ano. Yes, we can hear.
Ale to vypadá. Nic, to asi bude složitější. I'm sorry.
We can hear you now.
Yes. We prepare some plans for a museum of survival and cafe in the main building in the Brněnec. And I hope it will be a member of jury for this competition. Yes.
Yes.
That's all now.
Okay, nice and brief. Thank you. Yes, we forgot to mention the jury. Daniel will be in the jury as well as Mr. Bureš, who are here with us today. Thank you, Mr. Bureš. Okay, and I think we should dive right into it. So, who has a first question? You can unmute yourself. You can raise the hand gesture so that we see you want to speak. And let's see who's got some questions. Don't be shy, guys. Come on, I know you want to know some things. Sophia, I know you have questions. Can you?
Hello. I didn't want to go first because I'm preparing new questions, looking photos from drones.
It's okay. You can ask more questions than one.
I will just connect my screen now.
Actually, we would like to see everybody's face. If you guys don't mind putting them on, and you can, you're not sitting on the tram and stuff, we would like to see you. Okay. Okay, great. We see your shared screen, Sophia.
Okay. I would like to begin with the first question. Should we wait for more specific directions about the project program? And if not, can you please confirm that the scope of work is according to this sheet? So the documents we have until now are about Schindler's ARK, about the building for German soldiers, about Schindler's office, the square, the factory hall, the big hall, and I found some new documents about the glass pavilion, which he asked to be built. And in the south part, it's the villa. Is that all that we can work on? And this is connected with the second question. So we would like to be told what are the buildings on the map here. Are these existing buildings? Are they in function? What's their function? And are we working on them?
I think maybe that's the best question for Daniel. Daniel, do you want to zoom in on these? Can you see it well?
Sure, I can just about see them. So yes, I mean we should go through maybe, but the task is quite well described in the document, which I'm just trying to open it, which comes with the work. So there are two parts to it. In the northern part, there are the buildings, the historic buildings, particularly focus on the building of Schindler's ARK, and the building where the SS soldiers were, and the square. And we want to see how those can be restored, and where a modern museum can be built. So that's the first project. I think it's quite well defined. Focus in where you can get that constraint. Focus in on those buildings, because I think they are really at the core of the historic museum. And you should develop a proposal for those. On the outside, it's got restoration, but on the inside, you can really look at an interactive modern museum that will be built there. On the southern side, it's not a particular building. The site is really a brownfield site where you can propose a new housing development, as we would like to see, as Mies van der Rohe did in 1929. We would like to see a more affordable. He wanted it as a prototype housing, sustainable housing for this type of community, proposed by you. And there you can really start from zero. Look at the latest trends in environmental architecture, how you use glass, we'd like to use wood, we'd like to use textiles. We have it quite well specified in the document on the site. But that really is a brownfield site where you can propose to us what a community of prototype modern housing should look like in the 21st century. I'll stop there. Maybe you can add some pieces, and I'll just try and find that document as well, the document here. So the basic document on the site, which I think is important, is the brief, the competition, and it's got the competition subject, it's got the site, and it's got those two parts: a museum of survivors, reconstructing the historical buildings, housing a modern museum, providing a community hub which can be used for films, seminars, events with the local community, including textiles and the materiality of the museum, because it was a textile museum, include the latest approaches to museum interaction, use of audio, visual, storytelling to engage visitors. And the key buildings are the Schindler's ARK building, building number 1, the building for the soldiers, building number 2, and the square in between these buildings. And the submission can be for the site, one of the buildings, or for individual design components that you want to include. For example, interactive museum exhibits, lighting, how you restore materials. And then the second part is this sustainable living village on the southern part. And there the brief is for 150 flats, which we're putting in for development support. We think you should use materials, engineered wood, large glass windows, textiles in innovative ways. We did commission the Tugendhat Villa, which was meant to be a prototype, but it was never realized in Europe. They should have a common roof gardens and an entrance. They can be up to 5 stories high. And it can be, again, for the site, for individual design components. If what you're specialized is in a glass pavilion, or you're specialized in the use of textiles or the use of engineered wood, environmental technology, layout of flats, and they should be modular, so that they can really be a prototype, so that they can be expanded, because you'll see the site is huge. You don't actually need to use, at the beginning, we're suggesting just using one part of the site. So I think it's quite well described. Maybe we should make sure it's shared, but it's quite well decided on the competition conditions on the site.
Mm-hmm. Great. Sophia, any more questions? Does this answer all your questions?
Yes, this is the material I'm familiar with, and I read that material. I was not sure about the function, and are they still in function, about the second question, the objects on the map, about those, because the other material we read, but there was project in your documents that some of them were missing, and there was a part there. So I'm asking this: are we working them? Are we not considering them? Are they in function? What's their function today?
So it's a good question. The big advantage is you have a site where you can build a new museum. The factory continued. It continued throughout the 20th century till 2010, and then it stopped and it went bankrupt, which is what allowed us to buy back the land. So at the moment, they're not functioning. The northern part is for a museum. The southern part is for housing. There are lots. It's a big site, so I would try and focus in on that historic square for the museum. We will open a first exhibition in 2025 in the warehouse, where we will show your ideas, and we want to do it step by step, where then we will start to renew and rebuild the Schindler's Art Building, the German building, and the square. So we will show your ideas and incorporate them, and it's step by step. And that, for me, is the most important part of the museum. And in the southern part, which is also very big, and you can decide where to put it, it is to have that first prototype housing community of 150. We will then learn from that and further develop that site. But step by step, those are the 2 bits that we would like you to contribute to.
Thank you very much. That answers my questions, because I read your program about the steps, and I know that the first step is the museum part, and that one is connected in building the second part. So thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Can we continue with the restaurant part? I'm not sure where we're locating the restaurant. Is it on the Can you help me here with this map, with the second question?
So let me see.
I'm not sure if it's the angle at the square that's the closest to the square.
Yeah, so the big yellow one, from what I can see, is the warehouse building. That's where we're going to just, and there isn't a lot in there. We're going to just redevelop that so we can have the first exhibition, and there can be a space for some food and a restaurant. But in the historic buildings, you can decide where to put it. I mean, it really is, I think, to open it up to your ideas of where the functions should be. We want to have, obviously, a very modern interactive exhibition space. But we also want to have some community facilities so they can use it, as well as seeing Schindler's List, they can use it. And we do think food is an important part as well, that people will linger, they will stay for the day, they will reflect on the ideas, and they can do activities. So you've got space there. So think a little bit how you would like to distribute it among the buildings you have.
Great. You were already saying. Now I want to move to the south part about the program of the villa. The villa now is not in function. For some things, I'm sorry, because the translation that I had is from Google and Word, and it's from the technical descriptions from your documents in Czech. So some of the translation may not be right. The villa is now not in function. The 3-story building villa that's in the south part, it's not in function, right?
So that's correct. The southern part is very much a brownfield site. You have remnants of buildings. Nothing is in function. The factory stopped in 2010, and the community really now wants to see that it can be used, and they are supporting this development.
I'm sorry, I asked my question wrong. Are we putting it in function? I'm sorry.
So you have to decide how to use the villa. I mean, I would keep the villa, and I would just reconstruct the villa and allow it as a place for accommodation. I would say that because it's where my grandfather used to stay. So I would keep that. But for 150 housing units, you probably need to find a space here. I looked initially at the most northern part. You can see that square where you've got the 2 angles of the yellow roads there. And you have a big space there where you could build a community. That's a little bit the space I was looking at first. Again, it would be modular. To the north of it, you've got a few buildings at the entrance, and you've got one slightly ruined warehouse, which I would try and incorporate because it always adds a little bit, even if you can incorporate the ruins. But for 150, you probably need to find a space like that in the north where you can build a new community with a certain sensitivity to those buildings, none of which have a function at the moment. I would like to see the house saved, reconstructed, so people could live in it, but it wouldn't be the center of that piece of project.
Okay. And I think we can continue to the Schindler's ARK in the north part. And the capacity of accommodation in that, we have short period accommodation in that building, right? On the second floor, we're talking about the storage hall, the entrance from the square.
So I'm just trying to see what's that. Milan, do you know which building is that? Number 7? Your point number 7?
Sophia? Seven is Schindler's ARK.
So that's Schindler's ARK.
Okay.
This one, that's Schindler's ARK.
And on the left side, we see the entrance from the square.
Yes, that's the entrance
on
from
second
the square.
Floor. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And the greenish color is the original building, and then the part in white is the later added hall, the production hall.
I'm pointing in this photo that we have to put on the second floor, on the original accommodation of the workers, we have to put our accommodation, and this is the space to use. I just want to make sure about some things because I'm having a bad translation sometimes.
Okay, so for me, the green building has got 3 floors to it. It's got a ground floor, it's got a first floor, and it's got an upper floor. And it gives a lot of space for a museum. And then at the back, I mean, I was looking, where could you show the film, Schindler's List? You know, where could you have this interaction? And at the back, you have the big turbine room that's very beautiful, which has the size of a cinema. So somehow we found a room right in the center that could be used for film, for interaction, for testimonies. There's 110,000 hours of testimonies of the survivors because they survived. And they tell their story. And we work with the Share Foundation to create education activities from that. So where could we show it? Now, you're right. Originally, it was chosen as a building because it was incredibly dangerous, and it's where the Jews could work and could live. So there was a floor where they lived, and they didn't need to walk out in the square in front of the soldiers where they could be shot. And it was in one building. Now, you don't need to keep to that in the modern function of a museum. So that does not need. For me, it would be difficult. Probably, you need to decide, but you certainly don't need to include accommodation in that building. Its main brief is that it becomes you reconstruct the history on the outside, but the inside becomes an incredibly modern museum in the way that a modern museum can bring alive history, can speak to the present, and can be a hub for the community, so that it's also used for people coming in. and I would use all the space. You have a lot of space in that building. The other building, the building where the SSR guards were, now that's in a very bad state, so we probably would just keep the shell of the building, and you could look inside how you would use that full space. Our idea was to actually have a spiral of history from the top to the bottom, where you follow the events from 1848 to the present day. But the inside, again, the outside, reconstruction of the inside, you have a certain scope to do what you would like. And then the third component, which is the square, which articulates the space between those buildings, is one of the very, very unique spaces that you feel the intimate events of the Second World War, of European history, in that square. It's where the ring was given. There's also, you should show the interaction between those core buildings in that site. And that, I think, is, you'll notice the size, that's enough to focus on as a really modern building. And you can understand, it's great that you've looked at the use of it at the time, but any idea you've got on how to bring alive European history and the events of Schindler's ARK, that's really up to your creativity as architects.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you about this, but I will skip the question about the new structure in and out, an existing cold structure, about the structural system, and are we building around it, inside of it? But I think this is part of the competition and ideas. So I will skip this question, and so we can all offer different. You should not point us, maybe. And about the data and the process of applying, are we getting do we need to apply to a place? Are we getting a number? Like, is it anonymous? How is this process? Can someone explain this?
Yes, maybe I can answer the question unless Kyle wants to speak. No? You want to answer about the data?
Yes. Yeah. Still sharing, so maybe I can change it, please.
Stop sharing the screen, Sophia.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Not a problem. It was very useful actually seeing your pictures there.
Yeah. This was so. Here you can see when you open the website of the competition. Here there are all the informations about the schedule. So the idea is that this competition is for one year because we want to allow the diploma students to join this competition. So it's a 2-term competition. Then at the end of the summer term at the universities, mainly in Europe, of course, because it's coordinated with the European university schedules. And at the end, there will be a termination. You can upload your project anytime you want. What we are protecting is that when you upload your project, everybody can see the first view of a project. Maybe I can show you here at the Inspireli Awards. So you can see the standard projects from different students from different topics, and here you can see that you can go inside the data, the detail. But in a Schindler ARK competition, it will not be allowed. So it means it will be only the first view of the projects, but nobody can enter the inside of the project till determination. So that's I hope that I answered to you, that you will not show the entire idea. Is it what you asked for?
About how the process of applying goes?
Yep.
Yeah. You will when you upload your project to our competition, it will be presented only the front view, the front gallery, but nobody can enter it into detail till the termination will be finished. So till the end of the competition, nobody will see the detail of your projects.
Okay, I understood.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody,
Yeah,
so much for answering our questions, and taking time of your day to do this. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Maybe just to add to it, at the top of that page that Carol was just showing, there is a pre-registration for the competition. That is a button you press to register, and then via this button, you can upload later your project. So there is a good advantage if you pre-register now, because we will have your contact and we can send you any update, because Jana is every time sending updates. If we have new materials, if there is a live stream, anything that comes up, we have a direct way of contacting you saying, here is a new drone photos, here is a new this and that. So if you haven't pre-registered yet, definitely come on up with that. And through that button there on the top of the page, that's where you submit your project. So don't forget to do it before the July 14 of the next year. Just a little add to it. Great. Okay, I saw Ernest, your hand is raised. Please come on up and unmute yourself.
Okay, greetings everyone. So this is really an interesting competition, and I want to say a few words. We are working on it from Metropolitan Tirana University, and we have few students that are online, and maybe Tracy is going to make one or two questions. What sort of brings us to this competition is also specific story about Albania, because Albania is maybe one of the few countries where all of Jews were saved during World War II. And as I mentioned also to my students, it's like every Albanian is a bit a Schindler, because not only the ones who housed the Jews during the war were heroes, but also the neighbors that didn't spy, or also these other people that were around that helped them. So this is a very interesting story of humanity that we need to remember, and especially not to forget, because it's when things are forgotten that tend to be repeated. And I think this is really a strong message that this project is conveying through this project. Now, the other part of the question is that since we have a housing studio, we would rather focus this semester on the housing part. We discussed with our students during last Friday, certain typologies of modernist architecture that were experimented, especially in West Berlin, during the 50s, 1957. There were prototypes that then they were sort of disseminated and built all around Europe, where architects such as Le Corbusier, sort of unité d'habitation that he built in Berlin. There were Walter Gropius' contribution, Oscar Niemeyer, etc., etc. These were social housing that started, let's say, 5 stories and up. But I would imagine this project, just this is the question, maybe to Daniel. I would imagine this sustainable village as community housing, social housing perhaps, which is at about 3 to 4, maximum 5 stories, as you mentioned there, and still it preserves these typologies that were used in modernist architecture, that were used also in Czech Republic, what was Czechoslovakia before, but in a sustainable way. So I think individual housing or something is excluded. Maybe it's really collective housing. Do you have any preference for that? So I'm talking about typologies, or it's more free, or because 150 flats, it's not less. At least it takes some space. It's a relatively average or big volume of even it cannot be be contained in a single building if it is, otherwise it becomes too long, if it is a 5 stories house. So please, Daniel, if you have any.
Sure. First of all, great to have you, Ernest, and the team from Albania. And you're in the right direction. You've kind of answered your own questions, so it's great. First of all, it's a great quote to hear. Every Albania is a little bit of Schindler, and the tone of the place is different a little bit than most of the sites, which are about sites of extermination and death. This has got a different tone to it, which is around survival and the possibility of standing up. There were 1,200 here. Albania is the same. Probably Bulgaria was the other country where they were able to, and you can stand up to these systems. It's definitely not easy, and it requires a real. It's a daily activity survival, but that's the tone to show, and I think it is a universal tone. It's certainly not just about the little events here. It's relevant now. How difficult it is to save a life. Can you stand up to discrimination? And survivors often feel guilt that they survived, but they shouldn't, because they need a place to show their stories and also what happened there. So yeah, capture that universal story a little bit in the events. And it should be the museum should have that piece of hope to it, that difficult question, can you stand up? And then the legacy of survivors. I wouldn't be there if someone hadn't survived and escaped on a false passport. And Albania did a piece, and people can that you see in Ukraine the possibility, the difficulty of it, but that piece of hope even in the middle of those events. So I think it's great what you said. And then, although it appears new, there are some models, as you mentioned, to this collective housing in the southern part. Now, there's quite a history of it in this region, in Moravia, focused on Brno, particularly the work of Mies van der Rohe. Look at the Tugendhat villa, the way it's used glass. It brought a very new form of architecture. He did affordable housing in the Stuttgart development in 1926. So have a little look at some of the pieces he did there, where he didn't do the Tugendhat villa. There's actually nothing like, it wasn't meant just to be a luxury. There's nothing luxury in it. There's no gold, but he wants to really demonstrate what architecture can be. And it is copied, probably as in many different forms. But there is a legacy in Moravia. It's not a complete coincidence that he came there to build his best house. It had some very good Czech artisans, the artisanship on the glass and on the woodwork and textiles in Lily Reich, the interiors. So use some of those references. But it halted. That culture was destroyed, not just for us, but it ended in 1938. And if anything, it went to Chicago, and it went elsewhere. So you have to renew it to the 21st century, as you mentioned. I still walk in that place, and it feels still 30, 40 years in the future, because it's got many things in there that we actually haven't learned from Lily Reich. And whenever I go to a museum, you drop your keys and the sound is terrible. They haven't used textiles in it. They haven't used the interiors. They haven't managed the sound well. They haven't used the big windows as you meant to do with textiles that you see there. But bring it up to the 21st century. The challenge, you're right now, is sustainability. So that it brings in all the latest pieces of environmental technology, the materials. Now you can use wood, engineered wood, which you couldn't do in the past. We think is very interesting, with glass, with textiles. And then 150 does suggest there's a community component to it. We're a member of the new European Bauhaus, which is it's got to be beautiful, sustainable, and create a sense of community. Those are its three kind of principles. And it's meant to be the transition of the Green Deal in Europe, and we want ours to be one of the examples of how you do that. It's got to appeal aesthetically, because people don't just respond to function, and it's got to create a sense of community. And that's 150. we look at social cooperative building. We look at the communal spaces, the use of the roofs. We would like people to have access to the sky, access to the sun and the 150 allows us to build some of the community facilities that people need for good quality food, for older people, for medical care, for communal transport to link them to the railway. It gives you that piece. 150 was the minimum, actually, the minimum threshold to be able to make that kind of work without too much external support. So yeah, I think you need to articulate the 150 units together in some buildings which speak to each other and which allow a sense of community, are affordable but also are beautiful and use sun and use some really good materials in the glass, in the textiles, and give access also to the roof we suggested, so that people have access to the sky. And that's the challenge, and I think you're in the right direction. Some of those approaches in the center of Europe, it's just such a shame that they weren't, that they all the people you mentioned. I mean, Gropius ended up in Harvard, Mies van der Rohe ended up in Chicago, and yet their best example was here. So let's put a little bit what they might have produced if they were in the 21st century in there. Don't forget Lily Reich as well. The interiors was one of the things they did. Unfortunately, some of the environmental regulations have worked against that, because the minute you start in textiles to produce petrol-based materials, they're flammable, and so they've been left out of communal buildings. But you use natural materials, you can bring them back in. So look at those components. But what you've said is what you suggested, I would agree with in almost all the points. The environmental focus, the community, and it would mean putting them together in architecturally in a series of buildings that create communal spaces and allow those facilities that we know will regenerate the village, which we want to do in Brunyanets. And it's wonderful to have you involved in your group and your story of what happened there in the Second World War.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you, Ernest, for your questions and answering. And I just wanted to say to everybody who is watching us, you are watching the live stream, live talk number 14. It is questions and answers at the Schindler's ARK. We're asking Daniel Lebert. And we are going to be stopping the stream on Instagram right now. So I want to invite everybody who's watching on Instagram to move to Facebook or to move to the inspireli.com/news, where the live stream is going. And I see that we have Michal Budinski with his hand up. Michal, come up and ask your question.
Yeah, hi. My name is Lucia, and this is Michal. And we wanted to ask you, we actually visited Brunyanets, I think 2 weeks ago or something around that. And we were wondering if you could provide us some maybe photos from inside the two buildings we were not able to get in. And that's the German SS building and also the former office of Mr. Schindler. So if it is possible, maybe to send us some pictures just to see how does it look like inside. I don't know, because we were I've gone through the materials you sent us and also the pictures, but I couldn't find those two buildings. So maybe
this is a good idea. So we'll arrange that till the end of the week. We'll provide that something on the Inspireli website.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Where are you from, Michal?
I'm from Bratislava.
You're from Bratislava. Okay, great. Yeah. That's where you were. You were coming.
It's close by, so yeah, we visited.
And we develop it all in the partnership. So Milan is the contact, and you provide some of those pieces, which would be great.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Perfect. And we have Luxin Yu. Your hand is raised. Please come on up.
We just have one question quickly. You were considering of going to the premises and visiting the site, and wanted to ask if it's open the whole day or the whole time, or do we have to have a reservation or all in advance?
Yes. You just kind of need to get in touch and tell us when you are when you want to come.
Okay.
So that we can arrange it, because otherwise the site is not accessible from the outside. So you need to be guided through a little bit.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll write a text or email.
Yes, you can write to Jana. You can write to Jana. Anybody who would like to come, just write to Jana and she'll put you in touch and facilitate the contact. And just
where are you coming from?
Where are you coming from?
We're from Stuttgart, Germany.
Oh, you're from Stuttgart. Okay, we had 70 school students from Stuttgart coming in June.
Okay.
So there was some schools who gave ideas of what they would like for a museum.
Okay.
And it's one of the reasons we need you architects, because they said, I actually disagreed with them on one thing. They said you can have a boring museum for old people in one place, but we want to have an exciting museum for young people. I agree with them on the exciting bit, but we just want one exciting museum. And maybe we should do a day or two as well, where people can come together. If we give a couple of days, Milan,
which I think we've already done, Mariana.
Okay.
I think that we just agreed on some of the days that this is going to be open.
Yes.
Yeah. So preferably it's in these days, but we can always make some arrangements.
Yeah.
That would be great if you...
And then some of the architects can meet each other as well, maybe, and see the place.
Jana, you might have those dates. I don't know if you have them handy now, or the girls will get in touch with you and you can tell them, and anybody else who would like to come, what days are already available, and suggest others if these are not good.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Hello, do you hear me? Sorry,
Yes.
I didn't know how to raise my hand.
Not a problem.
Okay. And I just wanted to ask for the living part, so the housing. The typology of the apartments, does to have a studio or 1+1, 2+1? Is there any a defined asking for this? So do we have, like, we have to welcome families like that are with 3 kids, or two, or what kind of community do we have there actually? Is there an older community, or it's a young community? And that's
Yeah.
it.
It's a good question. Where are you from?
I'm from Albania. I'm from the MTU of Tirana with
wonderful.
Ernest. Yes.
Wonderful. Great.
Sorry for my English.
No, it's brilliant. And so we put in the requirements, we put flats and multi-generational units.
Mm-hmm.
So we did think there should be a mixture. There is a need for elderly housing because they literally cannot afford to support people who are in individual places in these rural areas. So there is some studio pieces, a large number of studio, but we also think young people with families, 1 bedroom to 2 bedrooms. And then we were thinking on one side of some multi-generational units as well, which create maybe some spaces between the buildings, which are squares and kind of gardens. So you get that mixture of there is a need for elderly, but we also think we can attract young creative people, given that there is also a museum with film facilities, with a cafe. You can work from parts of it. So it's that mixture. I think there will be quite a lot of the studio pieces, but add some 1 and 2 for young families, and then that mix of some multi-generational, where you could possibly have 2 generations living together.
So it's okay to take like reference the last awards from the Zine Awards that are dealing with social housing, that have those kind of co-working spaces with units, apartment units, and sporting areas or something like this.
Yeah.
And I'm looking what's going on in 2022-3. So
yeah, I mean, you should ignore my ideas slightly, but we just put them in but anyway, we obviously were attached to the Tugendhat Villa, and we felt that the main room there could be converted into something smaller that was affordable. Although most people presenting it, that's not how they present it, but it was actually what he was looking at. He was looking at actually textile factories, which is where he got the columns, and he got the machine for living, and he got the big open spaces. You'll see actually some similarities with the textile warehouse, and he was trying to show that this is how all housing should be. So have a little look at that main room. It's got floor to ceiling glass. It's got open plan. It's got a very creative use of textiles to close the windows, to divide some of the spaces. And can some of those elements be turned into that prototype for modern learning with almost 100 years gap between when it was done? And I think, yes, that's how it should be looked at. And it's got many of those, it's missing some components as well that you want to bring in the environmental technology. You can use some of those similar pieces in also a very 21st century way. We looked at engineered wood as the structure rather than maybe, he didn't actually use concrete, but maybe some of the materials used then. And you're on the right lines there.
Okay, thank you for your answer and your time. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions and the answers. Anybody else? Do you have any...
Yes, I'd like to ask, I'm sorry that I will ask that one more time, but I didn't quite get the answer about what Sophia already asked, and that's about old buildings, which are only shown in some documents and also on the map when I'm looking. But in some documents, they are not. So we should consider them in our planning or no? Like all old buildings in the north part. I cannot share that to you, but Sophia shared that, and I didn't get the answer.
Okay, now keep on asking until you get your answer.
Yeah.
So if in the description of what is needed, the two buildings to focus on are building 1, the Schindler's ARK building, and building 2, the soldier building, and the square in between.
Yeah.
The maps show the full site, so you'll see there are other things as well. On the site, there's a warehouse building where we will have our first exhibition in 2025. But the key bit, I think, if we want to focus, would be the building number 1, which is mentioned, the building number 2, and the square in between. And you'll see in our plans the 3 floors, there's actually, and the turbine room give you a lot of space to actually be very creative on the inside. And then the soldiers building is a little bit different. You keep the shell of the outside, and then you've got a volume on the inside to show a little bit European history through a factory. I would try and constrain it with that, but it's a huge factory, so it is always step by step. If really you want to produce something else, you can give ideas. But what our next step will be, we'll show the first exhibition in 25. We'll show your ideas, is then to try and build them in to those 2 historic buildings, which we have to be careful about, and we really want the best ideas from the next generation of architects. Building number 1, building number 2, and the square. There's a gate there as well, and you'll see, as in the maps show other things. And then in the south, it is to create that new prototype building of what a community should look like in the 21st century, understanding that modernism was there as part of that culture before the war in Moravia, in Brno. What should it look like now? You just have shells of building there. You have a little bit of an outline of a warehouse. You have a few things at the entrance, and you have the house where our family used to be, which is in ruins. So incorporate them a little bit, but they're not at the center of what you would do in the southern part. But we've given you the full plans, so you can see a little bit what that site is, and you'll see the site is actually much bigger than the 150 units. So the idea is to show how it works there, and then the next step will be using further parts of the site.
Yeah, I absolutely get that we should really focus on the the two buildings, like Schindler's ARK and German building, but that one building that is not that I cannot find any information about. What is it? I think you could maybe tell me that I'm sorry for my English. It's really not easy for me to speak
No,
in
it's
English.
fine. You're doing. I understand.
But in some
Which building is? Do you have the map? Maybe we can show we can put up.
Yeah, I cannot share it.
Could you share maybe the map of the main buildings?
Yes.
Okay, I can actually see that. Well,
So this one.
Yeah.
So maybe I can tell you a few things about this building, because this is a warehouse for local spedition company, and the building next to it, closer to the river, is also a warehouse that is standing there. So that these buildings are currently in use by the local spedition company, and they're there, but they don't necessarily need to stay there. If that's correct, Danielle.
That's correct. And then there's the warehouse to the left, which will stay there, which I think is the big one.
Yeah, this is the big one.
You can give ideas for those, but the next step for us will be the Schindler's ARK building and the German building and the square. It's got a gate and it's got a square. So that will be the next step that we do.
Because here are nothing.
Yes, but that's the original plan. That's the old plan. That's no longer.
That's to give you some ideas. You some ideas, but it's we put park where those buildings were. Even on that one, the focus was on the building 1 and 2 in the square. And we did have one new building there, which somebody mentioned, the glass pavilion. We like that form of architecture, but that's not necessarily part of. We're going to wait for your inputs for the next bit. We will in the warehouse building. That's where we'll have one of the first exhibitions that you will see. So we will be doing some work there so that is open in 2025. But then it will be an opportunity after this competition closes. It will be the end of 24. We'll show the first exhibition and we'll show the ideas as well from you on how we should build that square, the Schindler's building, the soldiers building, the gate is also there, and then the prototype housing, which is very important for the community in regenerating the Brunyanets community, which in the 1930s was one of the it went from in 1854 it was a poor village. It went to one of the central wealthiest villages in the region in Europe, and now it's in a state where it needs to be brought back a little bit, which is where the housing component is also really important.
Okay, the reason why I asked that was that I wanted to create a public space there. That's why I wanted to know that if I can turn down the building or if I can consider it or no. So that's why.
So that bit where you showed the park area, yes, you can suggest what you would like there.
Okay.
That's probably the bits you can, suggest what you would like.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for the questions. Do we have any more? Anybody else?
Okay.
Okay. So can I ask?
Yes, please, come on.
I have a question. It is possible to share, or it is already done, but I haven't seen, unfortunately, this in the site and the website. It is possible to share to us the template of this site in AutoCAD or something like that.
Actually, we are talking with the architect with Graphisoft, that they might be able to prepare some modeling for us. At this moment, we do not have it, but we are talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, what is your time scope when you would need this?
As soon as possible, to be honest, because we are students and we are doing this for our classes, this competition, to be honest, and our teacher needs these templates, and as well, so it would be great to have it.
We will do we'll do our best, and we'll keep you posted on this.
I understand. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Is there anything else we can help you with?
Jana had a question, didn't you?
Actually, not. I just saw here our another professor from Colombia, and I wanted to ask him about something, but he's off right now. So, I just can't find him. I think he's not online. So I'm sorry.
Anybody else have any questions? Who have we seen here? Oh, Tracy.
Don't be shy.
Exactly. Come on up. Sophia, come on in.
Hi. I noticed that in the project you had from maybe previous competitions, they had already 3D models. Maybe we can find those 3D models and you can share with us. That will be quicker. I noticed that they have renders, they have nice, they have the roof of the big hall and they have the roof of the Schindler's ARK. So maybe if you can find those materials and share with us, it will be great.
I think we will look together. We need to look to see.
Should I share with you about which materials I'm talking about?
Yeah, if you can share your screen, that would be great.
If you can wait, just I need to find it.
Sure. Not a problem. You can find it. In the meanwhile, you can think of some last questions afterwards if you have some.
Mariana, maybe we should look together at how we can get the what they're asking for, because it does sound like it would be useful.
3D modeling, yes.
Yeah, we'll try and be as responsive as we can if things are needed for it.
Yes, so this is an actually open offer. If you are missing anything else, now is the time to ask for it. So what else do you need from us? Anybody else? Anybody else? Specific questions?
I found.
Great. Yeah, you can share your screen. Does this work? Does the sharing screen work for you? Beautiful. We see it now. Okay, so it's the video between memory and regeneration. Daniel, do you know where this is from?
Yeah, no, I know it's got the, if that's useful, but I haven't seen. But the first bit of the 3D of the buildings, it's the outside of the buildings, if that's useful. It doesn't have the inside. But it has there is a 3D piece that we've done on the outside of the buildings. I think what you need, though, tell me if I'm wrong, man, is the 3D of the interiors of the buildings.
I think I should stop sharing because it will be conflict with our ideas. And if you can just maybe clean this model, just with the existing buildings and share with us, it will be excellent.
You also need the exterior model, not the interior model, correct?
Anything you can give us, it's helpful for us, because this is rendered from something and that's something we can use. No, thank you.
Great. Yeah, we will definitely look into this. Great. And I think this is the last call for any last questions, if you have. Anybody else? In the meantime, while I think of it, I can just say one more time, we are at the live stream, live talk number 14, the Schindler's ARK questions and answers. And today we had our lovely guests, Daniel Lepper, Milan Šudoma, and architect Zdeněk Bureš, answering our questions. If you have any more, you can always write to Jana at jana@inspireli.com, and she will find you answers. She will help you as much as she can. She is also your main contact, so feel free to ask. And please pre-register if you haven't done so. Go to the inspireli.com/ARK and pre-register there so that we have your contact and we can send you updates once we have them. The deadline of this competition is July 14, 2024, the same as Inspireli Awards. And automatically you will be a part of Inspireli Awards. So you are entering into 2 competitions at once, actually. All right. So any last questions? I don't see any raised hands. So I would like to thank you all for coming. It's incredible. We had 42 participants on this Zoom, which is one of the best we've had. Thank you. Thanks to Jana, who was in touch with all of you and made this happen. Thank you, all students and all supervisors as well, for coming, taking your time. Thank you, Daniel and Milan, for being here with us and answering. And we can keep answering online. There will be also frequently asked questions tab where all the answers will be uploaded as we go. So don't forget to pre-register at inspireli.com/ARK, and you can find everything there. And we'll be in touch with more updates. Definitely leave us the contact info there. And again, thank you for watching. Thank you for being with us. It was a real pleasure. Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.